right, is everybody awake? Yeah. All right, I'm glad you guys stuck around. I'm the founder of Pagelines. We're sponsoring, I guess, this ticket to LeWeb, and Pierre was nice enough to invite us to come out and talk to you guys. We're a San Francisco-based Silicon Valley company, and I'm really excited to talk to you guys today. And it's a really humbling experience to be invited here in front of the best, brightest of France. In my first trip to or my second trip to Europe ever. So I'm just going to be talking to you guys today about bootstrapping a company. We just heard this talk from Jeff, and is this really loud? We just heard this talk from Jeff, and he talked about what you need to do to raise money. And one thing he talked about a lot was bootstrapping. And he talked about it, kind of said that that's important, but he didn't really talk about how you do that. And I think to a lot of people that's pretty scary situation. Like, they don't really know how to get to the point where they can raise money. And it's like somebody said, it was a chicken and egg problem. So I'm going to be talking about that. So, because I'm in France, I took a little time to look up the word entrepreneur. And the definition of entrepreneur is one who undertakes. And to me, that means you actually get something going. And to most people, they think that they need funding, or there's this big, when you're trying to start a company, you're either working on the company and you're looking for funding, and this is something we see all the time in San Francisco. And the truth is, it's actually not a necessary step. You don't need to raise funding. So today I'm going to talk about the 3 things I learned as I was bootstrapping my company, and I'm going to pass those things on to you. And those 3 things I learned that we're going to go over are: to think big, you got to start small. You're going to have to hustle, and you have to have passion, and you're going to have to focus on karma. So I'm going to tell you guys my story. So I got out of business school, just like you guys. I got out of business school in spring of 2008. And at that time, if you guys can remember, it looked something like this in the U.S. stock market. And I couldn't get a job. I really wanted a job. I just couldn't get one. So I was looking for this thing, and I just was not getting anywhere. So I took a job working for a friend who's running an entrepreneurial center at my school. And it was interesting because I wasn't going to get paid any money. It was kind of like an internship role. I have 2 master's degrees. And I took an internship role just because I wanted to work at the entrepreneurial center, and I actually wanted to learn what it was to start helping people. I'd given up on a company I was working on during grad school, and things were just kind of like very frustrating at that time. So, if any of you guys can relate to that, I've been there. And after that, I started working on helping these small companies build their businesses online. And I wasn't making any money, but I just decided that, it was so frustrating. I was just going to learn how to help these companies, actually figure something out. And I was going to do that without trying to make money. I was going to try and figure out how to get these companies ahead, because I knew that if we could figure that out, or I could figure that out, that I'd somehow get taken care of. And that started working. I started getting referrals to more and more companies, and I get this thing started. Something started. And at that point, I founded a company, Pagelines. And the idea when we started was we were like a consulting company. No big deal, just like a regular consulting company helping small companies build their business online. But along the way, I was building these websites. And I found this tool called WordPress. I'm not sure if any of you guys have heard of it, but it was really a fantastic way to build internet infrastructure. And we were building this stuff, and it was really working well for companies to do their internet marketing. And so I was building these things, and I built this tool. And we gave this tool out for free. Again, I just used it to help small companies. And we gave it out for free, and all of a sudden we're getting like 200 free downloads or something a day. No money, but it's pretty neat. And so what I decided to do was to kind of do a free or a premium version. Before long, well, I don't have a slide for this, but before long we had a real working business. We're selling this kind of software that I didn't even think was possible. Nobody did. It was like a beginning of the market thing. So we're selling, this stuff, and so we got the company going. And along the way, we had this insight for what a problem was in building websites. And the reason I'm going to talk about this is because this is what really led us to actually become like a decent-sized company. And the idea behind it is, in the old days, people used to build websites with coding. And that's how I was building websites when I got started for these things. And we found, like everyone else wants to build a website, with using like how you'd build a PowerPoint presentation. That's kind of the natural tendency. But the problem is that web design doesn't work like that. It's too complicated, and you can't drag and drop out actually professional web design. So because of that, that's where we got started. We got started in themes. And these are the things that people put into WordPress, and you just plug and play, and then all of a sudden you've got this nice looking website. But there's a big problem when you want to customize it. So this is what the concept of drag and drop web design was. And we introduced this last year, again, as a bootstrap company. And since then, 1 year later, we sold 13,000 licenses, pro version. And I did this as a one-person company. So that means anybody in this room could do something like that. And these licenses are $100 or $200 a piece. So at that point, we were a real big company. So the next step was to grow up. And we moved. Now this is the point. So that whole story was kind of what Jeff kind of just glossed over. You actually need to get to that point really before you can get funding, right? And I think this is the most important part. So we should, if you guys really want to get something going, you're going to have to focus on getting to something like this. And so anyway, we grew up, and now we're in San Francisco. When we started, I moved up there as the only company employee. Now we have 13 employees. And we're really excited what we're doing next. We're here for LeWeb because we're doing a big launch of our next generation framework that we think is going to actually change the way. The idea is it's going to change the way people build websites. So I was going to show, if we have time, Pierre, do we have time? I'll just show this video if I can get. We're doing the launch. Doing the launch in 2 days. I'm going to show this video. No one's seen it yet. Besides you guys. Let me make sure.
So your website is your window to the world.
Forgot to plug in the audio.
So your website is your window to the world. The problem is that building the right website is expensive, it's intimidating, and most of the time you're not going to get what you want. That's why we're introducing Pagelines 2.0.
2.0 is a different way to build websites. It's something that's going to provide a powerful platform for people to build and customize their own sites in any way that they need to.
2.0 is a revolution in web design in general. It is the best way to build websites.
In Pagelines 2.0, we're introducing the Pagelines store. It's a place like none other on the web. It's a place where you can take the story and the vision of your company and your website, and you can see it all happen right in front of you.
Do you want to have a forum? Do you want to have a new gallery? Do you want to have new... Buy the component that you need, install it on your website, and have that accessibility in your messaging in the world. And guess what? Your site's going to look great on the phone, on a tablet, on the website. Your platform for communication is off the charts. That's what the store allows.
It's really the easiest way to get exactly the type of site that you need. If you need a blog, if you want to integrate social media, if you need an e-commerce site, it's all available for you right there through the store.
We've added responsive and mobile design. We've added new ways to manage the drag and drop interfaces. We've added integrations for forums and documentation and more.
Everything that you need to build your site, build your business, and spread your message on the web is going to be available at your fingertips right when you need it.
With everything that's been added to Pagelines 2.0, we can't wait to see what you come up with, and we cannot wait to hear your story.
All right, well, thanks, sir. Listen to that. I was pretty excited to show you guys, since we haven't showed anybody yet. All right, so that's kind of the background that I thought you guys should know before I got into what I think the top 3 things that I think you guys should think about when you're getting to that stage where you can you can raise funding, or you actually don't need funding because you're making enough money. So the first lesson is to think big, start small. And it goes back to what I was saying earlier about Jeff. You can raise money, but you got to get to that certain point. And the VCs and most of the places that you guys actually read about business, they talk about having this big idea. And the truth is, most of the time, the big idea is really going to be hard to get to from the start. You're going to have to get there at very small steps along the way, right? So the first thing I would say from experience, and this is the real deal for you guys, try and do something just to get going and focus on just actually getting started. Don't try and change the world with the first initial step, right? You can innovate along the way, and you'll get there. But most of the people that don't get there are the ones either trying to go too big, and they end up being frustrated, or people that just I guess get too frustrated with their big concepts. So again, I think if you get started, just get something going. You're not going to get frustrated, and you actually have a chance at getting there. You can do that no matter what the economy is like. You can do that no matter what the legal situation is like. I don't buy into any of that stuff. The second lesson I have for you guys is to hustle and have passion. And I think this comes from like something I see in San Francisco all the time, of people that are either like a developer that doesn't want to do anything but develop, or you're a like a sales type entrepreneur guy. And for me, I personally built our first product, and I got to that point because I was just I wanted to make something happen. And so I think this rule really, for me, means that you got to go out and try, really just make it happen, force it to happen. Don't say I'm just this. I don't do that. Like I learned to develop. I have an MBA, and I knew nothing about development when I got started. So I got bared down and focused on really, just doing whatever it took to make this business get off the ground. And then the third rule is actually one of the more fundamental concepts behind our business, is karma, or in other words, just focusing on helping people, not making money. One thing you see, especially in funded companies, and it gets frustrating for me because all these companies, they just want to talk about making money, and some companies actually want more than that. Some of the bigger companies like Apple, they're focused on making a dent in the universe, and to me that's centered around actually helping people or making people's lives better. And in the beginning of Pagelines, like I said, we were consulting. The only reason we got our initial concept for products was because it was helping people more than anything else. It was not about like driving the bottom line. And if it was, we probably made the wrong decisions, or would have come off as cheesy or salesy. If you guys know those types of websites that are trying too hard to sell you something, and I guess the point here is that I want you guys to focus on helping people, and you'll get taken care of in the end. So I think that's all I have for today. If you guys have any questions? Any questions? Yes.
Hi, thanks for coming. I think one of the most interesting things you said was at the end when you talked about being stuck on a certain position and not wanting to switch over and doing something else. Saying I only do this, only do this. I think that's one of the challenges a lot of people face. So can you maybe elaborate on specifically how you kind of made that leap from MBA to actually being able to develop your own product?
Sure. Well, I think there's resources online these days. A lot of the products you hear about are all like development products, and And I think that most people just don't want to do something, or they get frustrated at first. And I think that they just get frustrated and they give up, or they try and look for that developer, and then that never happens. And you know, it's just a lot of frustration in building a business, right? I mean, it's just continually frustrating. But you end up getting past one thing, and then you get to another frustration. And so anyway, back down to the square one, when I was kind of trying to be a business marketing person and started developing it, it was, again, like that thing about helping people. Like, I knew that if I could actually make something happen, like get them listed first in Google or make their website look better, you know, they would be more successful, thus I would become successful. So it was just because, out of necessity, I just went out and learned that stuff. And were resources for learning development, you know, tons of resources. So it's really just a question of either you spending the time or whatever resources you have, focus on those things. It's possible, is my point. You know, you don't have to need some great developer. You can make something happen on your own. Good? Pierre, traveling across the room.
Okay, hi, I'm Matthias. I'm from the HEC MBA program. I just wanted to ask you, how did you go about to find like your first, say, 100, 200 customers for your site?
Finding?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that came from just giving the product away for free at first, right? So back to that karma mantra thing, it's always turned out where if I could figure out a way to actually create some value, like people would come, and then, you know, later on down the road, you'd actually monetize that. So initially, we were getting like 200 downloads a day of some free software for building websites, and that was pretty cool. We weren't making any money, and the idea was actually just to create like a pro version, because people are asking me for help. And that's not a very good model when you're giving something away for free and people want help. So I was like, well, here's a professional version with, you know, a few little options, and, you know, put that out there, not knowing if it would sell at all. And all of a sudden it would start selling. You know, we make a few bucks, and that was how we started. You know, we probably got to a few hundred customers, and then at that point I decided, you know, either I was still looking for a job, and I was like, decided to make it look really good because it'd be impressive to people if I showed them this cool, nice looking thing. But I didn't think there was a real business. I didn't understand the software business at the time. But I want to make it look real good just out of that. And also we put that out there, we're selling, and then we quadrupled sales when we did that. And it really came, you know, that freemium model is pretty good for doing something like that. But again, just put the creating value first, and you'll find it.
Okay, thank you.
Just a quick question. What was the time frame between actually putting in the professional, between the professional and the free?
Well, can you?
Well, sorry. What was the time frame? You started with the free downloads?
Oh, yeah.
And how long did it take before you actually had the professional?
I was probably like a month or two. I mean, initially, I guess the free version was, in my mind, it was like a little marketing experiment. You know, I'd done some reading, and I found that, and I'd, you know, done some, you know, backwards engineering, and I saw that some other, you know, companies had driven traffic and stuff through giving away free stuff online, and so I gave that away, and, you know, we gave that. It just kind of worked. It was neat. I still wasn't like getting any more consulting clients or anything out of it, so. To that end, you know, my consulting business was a crappy business, but you know, so just somebody suggested that we have a pro version maybe a month or two later, and I guess that was where we got started. But it wasn't like a huge amount of money up front. It took time. That's the lesson, I guess. It takes time. Anyone else?
Hi, Andrew.
Hey, man.
If you had the chance to do it all again, would you take the money, even if it was at terms that you would accept?
Yeah, good question. And the answer is no, I would not. And we're actually really trying to not have to ever take money from venture capitalists and lose control of our board and all their values. We're trying really hard not to do that right now. So it's one of those things where sometimes the business case calls for raising money, and then they demand that you give up control of the board and focus on making money, and every decision you make has to be approved by the board. And so, considering where we are now, I wouldn't take money. And at the time, I knew we weren't going to be able to raise money anyway, because it was like a software business with no.
Real, what if?
Yeah. So at the time, I didn't know I could actually create a big business out of it. So probably would have taken it at the time if somebody just offered me a couple $1 million.
Take it and run away.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah. So. Anybody else?
My name is Jan. I would like to ask you, would you become an entrepreneur even if there were no crises? I mean, is it right that great things come from frustration?
What was that word?
Frustration, I mean.
Frustration.
Yeah, right. Like, would you become an entrepreneur even if there were no crisis? I mean, at financial market.
No crisis?
Crisis.
Crisis.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah, probably not. I really wanted to be an entrepreneur, but, there's so much pressure when, you're struggling or whatever, and you have 2 master's degrees and you're supposed to be making decent money to get a job. And that's, I think, another reason a lot of great companies get started during, economic recessions is just, forces people that otherwise would have gone into the 9-to-5 thing, gotten a job, done it. The truth is like if you're most people do not like working 9-to-5, and they just they lock you in. They give you little bonuses, just enough so that you don't leave. And I think a lot of people get stuck in that, and that prevents a lot of great companies from ever existing. And so, I've learned these things over the all this whole experience I've had over the last 3 years, I guess. But at the time, I was looking for a job, and I was really at the back of my mind hoping that I could make something happen on this business. This was always like the dream, but I was looking for a job. So I guess the answer is if somebody would have given me a good job, yeah, it might not have ever happened. So. How did I find my team? Well, I'm the founder, so yeah. So these guys are on my team here, and the truth is, it is really hard to build a great team. One of the things we talked about a little bit earlier with Jeff is San Francisco, and the things that San Francisco offers. And in San Francisco, you really get a chance to meet a lot of people that are, in the case of software and the internet, they're all kind of doing the same thing. So the big advantage, really, everything else aside, because we started in San Diego, and it wasn't great for this, but in San Francisco, you could just, like, you're sitting next to somebody who's in another company, and they know something that you don't know about it, and there's just a lot of kind of symbiotic relationships in the area. I got a guy, a lawyer, was referred to me by the founder of one of the founders of PayPal, and that kind of stuff. So that's the advantage of San Francisco. I mean, I don't know what it's like to be based in Europe, but anyway, I'm kind of off track. I don't even remember the original question. Oh yeah, how'd you find these guys? Oh yeah, so the anyway, so how did I find these kids? Well, Kyle's my older roommate, and I knew he was smart. He was an entrepreneur himself, and John is both these guys are entrepreneurs in their own right, and so they just I got these guys excited about what we were doing at Pagelines, and here we are, trying to take it down at LeWeb. There.
Do you think you would be where you are now if you didn't move to the US and you stay in Europe?
Well, I'm actually from the U.S. originally, yeah. Yeah, so I guess that's no point.
Do you think it's easier to be in the US than started this startup in Europe?
Actually, I don't. I think that maybe San Francisco has some benefits. San Francisco is probably easier, yeah. But anywhere else in the U.S., no, it's probably no easier. I got it going in San Diego, and but I didn't have any help from anybody there, really. So, but San Francisco is pretty good. Yeah.
Why didn't you choose to keep a free version of your product?
Why? Because there's this thing called you don't want a cold start value, which just mean you don't want to put a paywall, or I got all these terms. I don't know what you want to call it, but you don't want to put money in between somebody discovering what you can do for them. So you kind of want to give them a little bit, so they could see, like, all right, here's some value that can be created, and then most of the time they'll upgrade to get the full thing. Because if you get a little bit, a website's something that's very important to people, so they'll spend money to get that if they're sure they're going to get the right thing.
There's no student discounts.
Oh. Why didn't we? Oh, I see what you're saying. Well, we do have a student discount. If you guys want a discount, huh? Yeah, and we do have a free version. That's kind of designed just for handle. What we do is we build software. Like I said in the video, it's really, we're trying to build software, allow people to build awesome websites in the most professional way possible without having to do code. That's kind of what we do. And the free version is for just kind of building blogs or something like that. And we do have, and if you guys want something professional, of course, we completely support students. So we'll give you a student discount. No worries. Just email Kyle. Kyle@pagelines.com. Yeah. So, yes.
It's not easy to move from a free product to a premium model. Do you have, for example, 3 tips to succeed to go from a free product to a premium strategy?
Sure. That's an easy one, actually, because I don't know. It depends on if you're working with a service or if you're working with software. Like we have a software business model, which is not ideal. I'd rather be on a services business model, and we have plans for that. But the thing is you want to give a tangible amount of value with your free product. Like a lot of value. Then you just dedicate some extra time to dedicate maybe like 25% of your features to the pro version, and you'll get people that upgrade for sure. I mean, because if you're creating value, like I was saying earlier, if you're building something of value, like we're helping people build websites, which is really something that can help them become successful. That's why we're passionate about it. But the problem is most of the time they don't get what they want. They don't have control over what they want, and just 90% of people are not happy with the way their website is. So, so the truth is, if you're creating value, just dedicate some time, build some features, for that pro version, hook up a credit card, taking script or whatever, and you're good. I think, yeah. So, all right. If anybody else has a question, one more. All right, one more. Pierre, running the mic.
Thanks. So one of the first things that popped into my head when I heard about Pagelines was, okay, that's kind of Squarespace minus hosting, right? So what do you think your USP is? And specifically, I'd be interested in kind of the challenges of an app inside of a much greater ecosystem that is WordPress. I mean, I think that Facebook game developers, or everything, any app that's integrated into a bigger system faces these problems. For example, I think it'd be very difficult for you to, through your current model, offer hosting. So can you talk about the challenge that poses, maybe?
Sure. Really good question, actually. Tempted to go off on the competition, but not going to. The truth is, the Squarespace is kind of, there's 3 segments of the market, like 3 segments of the market, right? There's these kind of like very beginner-oriented solutions that are usually hosted, and one's like Squarespace, another one's Weebly, and there's a plethora of others. And That's kind of like in our mind, the kind of beginner side. That's really easy to get started, but you're actually not going to be able to get a super professional result because you don't have complete control over your infrastructure. You're going to be tied down with somebody else's infrastructure, right? On the other hand, you can pay a designer something like $10,000, you know, 7,000 euro, to build a website for you that you're not going to understand or control. So in the middle is just this. What's really going on with web technology is you need to have control over your infrastructure if you're going to do anything interesting at all with your website. If you're just building a little blog or something, then yeah, go Squarespace. But if you really want something that's completely custom, you know, to your brand, that's completely professional, and is really optimized for search and all this other stuff, you want to own it on your own. That's why WordPress, self-hosted WordPress does about 25% of all new websites, and that's because people understand that concept. And so nothing against like the kind of beginner stuff, and nothing against all the expensive designers and developers out there. But we're really trying to help this market we call the do-it-yourselfer market. People that can't afford, the expensive, want something better than the cheap and easy. And we're trying to build something on WordPress that allows you to build a professional website with drag and drop, with no compromises, right? So it's completely a good end result. And the other question about building on top of somebody else's infrastructure, well, every app you have on your computer or your iPhone is built on some other piece of software. And I would call it the law of abstraction. You get different, over time somebody wins this war and they build on top of that, and then somebody wins that war and they build on top of that. And that's how software works. So we made a bet a long time ago that WordPress was kind of going to win and become like the operating system for websites. And so that's why we're building on top of it. And it's working out really well. Hope I answered that question. Cool. All right, well, thank you guys. I hope you learned something. And